Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Maximus. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We are talking about Special Forces today. Now, I haven't had a huge amount of exposure to Special Forces during both my British Army career and Canadian Armed Forces career. In the British Army as a regular force soldier, I came across the SAS a few times in Afghanistan. I know a number of people who applied and were successful in getting in and still speak to them to this day. So, I know a little bit about the SAS side of things. In terms of, the Canadian Forces, I know again of a couple of people who have been posted to Special Forces within, JTF2 and all that good stuff. But really my exposure to it is very, very limited. And my experience and knowledge of Special Forces is fairly limited too. Now, of course, there are a whole host of Special Forces around the world, and I think a lot of the time we get very hooked on the standardized, normal Special Forces that we see on movies and games and stuff, whether it be Delta Force, Navy SEALs, SAS, SBS, JTF2, etc. The list goes on and on. But of course, one Special Forces unit that really does get sometimes, neglected and mentioned in the world is the Air Force's Special Operations Command Pararescuemen. Really, they are a testament to, being able to protect and serve the military in a context that you don't normally think about, actually helping someone be specifically trained to conduct rescue operations for those that have been injured or killed on the battlefield. We always talk about Special Forces going in to kill the enemy, but we don't talk so much about those who need to be extracted from dangerous zones that other Special Forces that are busy doing other things don't have either the capacity or the time or the ability to do at the time. And, PJs, as they're known, really do have a unique skill set, that they have extreme levels of medical experience, but also a strong level of Special Forces background to be able to do, normal operator style tactics and operations that allow them to get troops in and out of the battlefield quickly and safely if they're hurt or injured. And to me, I think we don't give them enough justice in the world of, military showcasing. It's just not right. And I thought I'd give a little bit of a dedicated video to them today because it's just right. It needs to happen. And I don't think there's enough information shared about the Special Forces. And I'd like to talk a little bit specifically today about 6 Air Force heroes from the Pararescuemen who risked all they had so that others may live. Now, Pararescuemen, we need to talk a little bit about them in general first, a bit of an overview. So the Air Force's Special Operations Command Pararescuemen, also known as PJs, are the only Department of Defense specialty from the US specifically trained and equipped to conduct conventional or unconventional rescue operations. These battlefield airmen are ideal force personnel for recovery and combat search and rescue. A PJ's primary function is a personnel recovery specialist with emergency medical capabilities in humanitarian and combat environments. PJs deploy in any available manner to include air, land, and sea tactics into restricted environments to authenticate, extract, treat, stabilize, and evacuate injured personnel. PJs participate in search and rescue, combat search and rescue, recovery support for NASA, and conduct a whole host of other operations as appropriate. Pararescuemen are among the most highly trained emergency trauma specialists in the US military. They must maintain an emergency medical technician or paramedic qualification throughout their entire career. With this medical and rescue expertise, along with their deployment capabilities, PJs are able to perform life-saving missions in the world's most remote and dangerous areas that normal medical teams just would not be going into. Their motto is that others may live. It reaffirms that PJ's commitment to saving lives and self-sacrifice. Without PJs, thousands of service members and civilians would have been unnecessarily lost in past conflicts and natural disasters. Now, the training of Pararescuemen endures some of the most toughest training offered for the US military and especially the Air Force. Their training, as well as their unique mission, earns them the right to wear the Maroon Beret. They complete the same technical training as EMT paramedics, plus many other physical and specialized training, including indoctrination course at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, US Army Airborne School at Fort Benning, US Air Force Combat Diver Course in Panama City, US Navy Underwater Egress Training, US Air Force Basic Survival School, US Army Military Freefall Parachute School, Paramedic Course, Pararescue Recovery Specialist Course, and many other operational tours and particular credentials that they get to get them the experience that they need to actually perform their duties in the lines of really hazardous conditions. Now, in terms of actual specific, heroism from these soldiers, it's really impressive to actually learn a little bit about it. So, troops heading into combat know that the entire medical chain exists to keep them alive and as healthy as possible for as long as possible if they're hit. The goal is to get them out of harm's way within the golden hour. This is the first hour after injury to maximize their odds of survival and recovery. But medics and corpsmen are the backbone really of that chain, and the Air Force has teams specifically trained personnel who exist solely to put their lives on the line to save others in some of the most dire combat medical crises. So let us talk about 6 of these PJs that did everything they could to sacrifice themselves and their efforts for others. The first is Airman First Class William Pitzenberger. William was the first enlisted airman to receive the Air Force Cross, which was later upgraded to the Medal of Honor, and his sacrifice is still the standard to which modern pararescuemen strive to honor with service. Now, his amazing story is finally reaching the masses when the Last Full Measure movie hits theaters on January 24th, 2020. I will put the trailer description in the box below so you can take a look if you want to watch it. Now, he was volunteered for service in Vietnam. He volunteered to be lowered into a minefield to save a Vietnamese soldier, and in April 1966, he volunteered his way into a massive firefight that would unfortunately claim his life. When an army company stumbled into an ambush, the mortar, machine gun, and rifle fire came so quick and thick that soldiers were soon unable to defend themselves while evacuating their wounded. Pitzenberger recognized that this was happening and got special permission to join them on the ground and prepare the wounded for evacuation. He got 9 of the wounded out of the 3 flights before it became too dangerous for helicopters to operate. Still, he stayed on the ground, running ammo to American positions under fire. Sadly, due to the least 2 gunshot wounds he received, he was killed. He was credited with directly saving 9 lives and with the medical aid and battlefield actions that may have helped save dozens more. His award was upgraded to the Medal of Honor, making him the first airman to actually earn the award. The next individual is Chief Master Sergeant Dwayne Hackney. Dwayne Hackney is arguably one of the most decorated airmen in US history. We can't go into all of his heroics in this particular video, but he served from Vietnam to Desert Storm and amassed an Air Force Cross, a Silver Star, 4 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Purple Hearts, and 18 Air Medals. His first Purple Hearts came almost immediately after he arrived in Vietnam. A .30 caliber round struck him in the leg and he got a fellow pararescueman to treat it so he could stay in the fight. He was awarded the Air Force Cross for extracting a downed pilot from a fierce firefight, immediately getting shot out of his helicopter during an extraction, then doubling back to the crashed helicopter to check for survivors before finally evacuating again. He received that award in a ceremony where he also got the Silver Star for bravery during a completely unrelated rocket attack. In short, he's built one hell of a military resume. Despite surviving combat tours of Vietnam that started with a Purple Heart and ended with an Air Force Cross, Hackney volunteered to stay for another 3 years. Next is Tech Sergeant Kiri Miller. Pararescueman Specialist Tech Sergeant Kiri Miller was involved in the Battle of Takur Ghar in Paktia Province, Afghanistan. On March 4, 2002, he was inserting with an Air Force Combat Search and Rescue team to rescue 2 service members that had become separated after their helicopter was shot up upon a ridge. Miller's team faced heavy fire while landing and was forced down, crashing onto the mountain. Miller quickly led the establishment of a hasty defense and then began rendering aid to the wounded. Sadly, 4 of his teammates were killed almost instantly and 5 were wounded, but Miller redistributed ammo to those able to fight and maintained the medical interventions to the wounded for the next 15 hours in extreme bitter cold. He was credited with saving wounded men, allowing soldiers and airmen to keep fighting until rescued, and allowing for the successful recovery of 7 sets of US remains. Next up is Senior Airman Jason Cunningham. Senior Airman Jason Cunningham was the same MH-47E helicopter as Tech Sergeant Miller when it was shot down. Cunningham immediately began treating the wounded when they hit the ground and moved to injured personnel from the burning helicopter. He was critically wounded while defending patients, but he kept doing everything he could to save others. He directed the disposition of the wounded and handed the care over to a medic before succumbing to his injuries. He was awarded the Air Force Cross on September 13th, 2002. The next person is Master Sergeant Ivan Ruiz. On December 10, 2013, Pararescueman Craftsman Master Sergeant Ivan Ruiz was attached to an Army Special Forces and Afghan Commando Team raid in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. The nighttime operation met contact with the enemy almost immediately, and his team took out 4 insurgents. He moved forward with 2 others into a courtyard where the others were hit. Rather than withdraw to cover, he laid down heavy fire, killing one insurgent and suppressing the others long enough for him to reach the wounded men. Despite heavy machine gun fire, grenades and accurate rifle fire, Ruiz stayed exposed until the other teammates reached him. He then gave life-saving care to his buddies under fire. He's credited with saving their lives and helping to pin down 11 members of the enemy and killing potentially even more. Finally, Staff Sergeant Thomas Culpepper. Pararescuemen Staff Sergeant Thomas Culpepper was part of the call to rescue of 3 members of an Army Pathfinder team trapped in an ID belt on May 26, 2011. One Pathfinder was extremely hurt and injured, and the other 2 were trying to keep him alive, but extracting them was from basically an essential minefield would be very, very difficult. As Culpepper was raising the second soldier to the helicopter, it suddenly lost power and entered a free fall. Culpepper kept control of his casualty and the helicopter came to a stop just a few feet from the ground. They escaped the ID belt and made it home, and the injured soldier, unfortunately, tragically, did not survive his wounds. Guys, you know, it's incredible, these individuals and the kind of things that you expect Special Forces to do. Ultimate self-sacrifice of, you know, their lives, their training that they've put into this, the amount of effort that goes into becoming just this individual, and then when it comes to actually going on operations, the fact that they're not just taking lives, they're saving them, really is a testament to how incredible these people are, and it really does, it humbles you a little bit to know that these people are out there and they're doing everything in their power to protect and save life and bring people home that have been through some of the worst trauma you can ever imagine, the worst situations you can ever imagine. So I'd like to dedicate this video to each and every one of the pararescuemen that are out there, and any other form of medical or, you know, trauma or triage or casualty evacuation service out there around the world. Thank you for what you do. I really appreciate you, and hopefully I will see you again next time on another video. If you did enjoy today's content, please feel free to leave me a like, and if you want to be notified of any upcoming videos in the future, please hit the little bell by the subscribe button. As I mentioned, the trailer for the movie will be below in the description box. You can go check that out along with all my other social media and things like that. Thank you so much again for joining me, everyone. All the best. Bye-bye.